Oh, just opened my balcony door, let in some fresh air, but I'm noticing my body doesn't even tolerate the draft. Weather is getting colder, though it's I mean, it's right now it's third what's the word for it? I think at least in some language there should be like third of September already, so the end of September. Today's the 19th actually, and so far days have been very warm, even hot, like 30 degrees around that, but it really cools down at night. So essentially the air coming in is colder than the air in here, and that makes it even harder to tolerate this draft. I feel it's very uncomfortable. I've got a slight bronchitis because it got cold at night too. I'm always sleeping with closed windows, but the windows being solid as walls, of course, will just make the air in the room cool down faster and then sink down right onto me. Yeah, but this is not the channel for journaling or just talking into the camera randomly, right? I want to play on my drum, so I'm gonna close the door and then I'll be back. Oops. Really not feeling well. Not nervous system is well, immune system, nervous system, everything is not in a good state. Very bit hard to describe. Still, not supposed to be the content for this video. I already recorded a video today where I was just talking and stuff. Yeah, before just now before I started this video, I felt like I'll try playing on my drum. Today is Saturday, so there is nobody in the office, which is just adjacent to my room, so I can just play. I tried playing once while the office was occupied, and it turned out that it does disturb the people there. It's always hard to fathom to kind of guess or to discern how audible or how loud a drum will sound in the other room if you play it right. I would love, yeah, it would be if I imagine myself just wearing some warm clothes and sitting outside in nature, where as you can see in some of the older videos, at least on my other channel, I think I actually never played my drum over there, but here in the garden I actually specifically prepared a specific place where I can sit, put down a part of an old wooden pallet and some logs of wood to sit on or even lie down on. Yeah, just lay down. That would be nice, but I'm here in my room now. I heard somebody walking by outside, but anyway, as far as I know, nobody is using the office today. And it's noon already anyway. It's past 12. It's 12:37 already. Time passes fast. I feel a bit feverish in my body. If I measure my temperature, I'm quite sure it won't show any fever. My experience is that normally the temperature measured would be quite low, but I really caught a cold by, well, I sleep next to a window because, as you can see, there are more windows than walls. No, but yeah, there are like two windows, two big windows, and then another big glass door to the balcony, and I'm here in my bed, so I'm just sleeping here, and the windows are closed, but the air will cool down, and there will be a kind of a draft down onto my throat and my chest, front of my chest, if it's not covered well, and even if it is, onto my face, and that's enough for me to get sick. Though it also feels like actually how to put it, a good positive process. I don't know, it feels maybe like an opportunity for my body to get rid of some more toxins, and maybe it will help balancing out the nervous system and immune system, digestive system, and so on. feel like I can't play right now, and also it's extremely irritating because I can hear that apparently somebody is in this on this floor. This is the first or second floor, yeah, the floor above the ground floor. Or if you the house is kind of built on a slope, so when you enter the house through the main entrance, you're actually on the first floor in a way, and the ground floor is below that, and I'm one floor above, so I don't know how to count it, but anyway, it's a top floor, and that's why I like the room, because it has a balcony. You can have a lot of daylight and sunlight if you want to. For the past weeks, like for the whole month, and I've been very sensitive to light and sounds. Unfortunately, it's too bad, because the last day to catch some sunlight is quickly approaching, and the last time I exposed my body to some degree of direct sunlight was in August, so certainly low on vitamin D. I can now feel how extremely irritating it feels. Just the feeling that someone is here outside, just currently walking in and out of their room or something. So that's, you can see how sensitive to any stimulus my nervous system is right now. Yeah, so now I'm gonna put this video on my other channel anyway, and then which means it will come after the video of myself doing that guided meditation, and I didn't comment on that in the video, but I also got this I've been talking about these emotions from the spectrum of anger, but it's a kind of protective kind of anger. So I feel insufficiently protected. I feel vulnerable, and so the last resort, the last kind of wall is just a wall of this energy of anger and irritability, which to protect me. And the main way in which it serves in practice is not that I lash out at people, but I just isolate myself much more. So I just avoid any contact with anyone, because the smallest stimulus would, if I completely opened up, would make me lose it completely, and kind of throw a tantrum, or well, basically it would make me act in a way that's incomprehensible for anyone, and not in relation, and not in not in any kind of relation to what the other person is doing or saying or something, or like even if I might manage to interact to some degree, the slightest topic or anything could lead to that. It's very rarely happened with other people. At the place I lived for the first half of 2020, it happened at least once, and then I remember it happening many times with my parents. And that's how I know that people don't understand it, even if I tell them before or something. So if I'm with my family, with my parents, it's more likely to happen because there's certain rules to no, it's not so much that. It's actually more kind of the whole structure, environment, and energy, and just the people and the way of interacting. But it just might even have happened this year. Just and it's not really lashing out at other people, but then it's just my nervous system being overwhelmed, and for example, shaking or another typical thing is loss of just not being able to communicate anymore, which also happens with other people and so on. And thing is, for some reason, people just don't notice it at all, and think everything's fine. And what I'm taking away is just not worth exposing myself even to that risk, because it's obviously my body, my nervous system is overwhelmed. So it's even harder to get back into balance, and at the same time, a meaningful interaction with others is not possible, and it seems to be rather counterproductive. And people will, when they try to understand what's happening, they will frame it in some causal way. So it might be seen as being overly dramatic, or just wanting to grab attention. And for example, with my mother especially, it will be seen as intentionally either trying to manipulate people to hurt people, to yeah. So in my family, it tends to be taken very personally, and it's all not helpful because that creates additional things to resolve. Though in this case, it's basically things for my parents to resolve themselves, because I'm not able anyway to deal with that and find some kind of resolution, and so it just resolves by letting time pass and not being in touch with each other for a period of time. Mostly resolved, but even now I can feel that there's remaining disharmony and kind of conflict, and my parents like feeling hurt and so on. Yeah, but that's a huge topic and area. I kind of got lost a little bit. I just wanted to go into that state because it's interesting that I've kind of fallen into or entered that state today. This very strong irritability. I have mentioned that I changed my medication, and also I'm for the past 2 weeks or so, I guess I've been very confused with my nutrition, because my body is now reacting with allergies to a lot of the things I've eaten before. I feel quite a strong deficiency, like for vitamin C. I don't really feel like eating vegetables, and I definitely can't eat fruits, and apparently my body is reacting to salad as well. I would love to eat vegetables if I get them in cooked form, especially, for example, Chinese, just stir fry. Basically, what would be something like just daily fare, the daily, just a normal daily dishes in China, just fried vegetables. That would be great. Rice with fried vegetables. I did order a new rice cooker on Amazon, and I think it already got delivered today. I just apparently some of the people here are gonna go hiking today, so I guess wasn't really my conscious thought, but apparently I'm waiting for them to leave and kind of the house to empty out to go get it. I'm not. There might be some rice left somewhere from the previous tenant who used this room as a kitchen. Not sure. Or I might have to buy some. I could take some from the actual kitchen here if I find it. because I've got a great rice cooker, but it's already for the first half of the year I was looking for it and I couldn't find it, so it might not even be in the boxes I've got right now. It might be in number of boxes were put into a cellar in the 15th district of Vienna, where it would be about half an hour by car, half an hour or more by car from here. Anyway, I've got so many boxes here, so I definitely have to go through those first, and before that I have to bring some order to my room here. And well, altogether, which everything taken together means that because that's what I mean, I've been looking forward to finding my rice cooker, but I just came to the conclusion that it would take ages to find it, and I can't afford to. I really need to find better nutrition for me, and if I can cook rice, I mean that at least would be a warm meal and helpful. Although I mean white rice isn't even particularly good for me, and I tend to not really to thrive, but basically no, it's not really a low carb diet, but just cutting down on carbs wherever possible tends to help me, because my metabolism is kind of in a pre-diabetic state. But sometimes I really notice that it just helps the source of carbohydrates, and there, in this case, white rice is the thing that's easiest absorbed and digested by my body. It helps to balance the body, and from the perspective of Chinese medicine, just cooked grains, which belong to the element of earth, and the taste is called sweet, though it's not the, yeah, it's often a bit mistaken, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. That's very good and healthy for all the body's systems. That's what I often notice too. And so yeah, I mean, for the whole of 2020, I just lost this. I mean, before that, I just had my rice cooker, and I could cook rice and have rice. I mean, I just asked some olive oil and maybe soy sauce, and then I could eat it like this. Basically, I expect that it will be good and helpful for me to be able to eat rice. I'm a bit disappointed that I don't feel, apparently I'm not able to drum right now. This curling up of my body is quite strong. Yesterday I took one tablet of diazepam after. I have to fill out that form where I'm documenting how much I'm taking anyway, so I can just do that right now. So right now this is like part of being productive. So I didn't take any for 1, 2, 3, 4 days. Yesterday I took one, and I guess it's kind of the rebound effect that really contributes to this irritability, and also the tension and everything. So the question is, did it actually help anything, and what? I mean, it certainly didn't enable me to do the things I wanted to do, like going to the supermarkets, and today same thing today, but today I won't go to the supermarket without taking a shower first. And that definitely didn't happen so far. But these were the actual reasons why I took it. So yeah, I don't know whether it was necessary or helpful to take that. I mean, what doctors would say is that it's there's dependence on it, so you'd have to take it and slowly reduce it. And I think it's even documented in my video journals how just taking it regularly every day is just, simply put, it's worse than not taking it at all. And it doesn't feel right now as if that helped in any way to balance me. If taken in a high dose, might have helped, but apparently that must have caused a lot of imbalance. For now, I just go by muscle testing. When to take it, whether to take it to a certain degree, and how much. Though of course this is also influenced by just my thoughts, obviously. I mean, muscle testing is not a magic, it's not magic that just gives you the perfect answer. Especially depends so much on the state of your whole system. the health of your system, and of course your intention, your subconscious intentions and beliefs and so on. So yeah, so an ideal 0000010. It appears to me that it actually can go 00000. It's just I guess it should be obvious from my videos and what even this video, and I think I've said it quite often, that this state is not sustainable. I'm surviving, but I'm just putting off what really needs to be done, and a number of things cannot be postponed indefinitely. Weather will get colder, and also, yeah, not sufficiently caring for the body obviously over time it will really harm my body, and in many different ways, and so on and so on. So that's why I still do hope for medication to sufficiently help me to tackle these things. I'm mostly thinking about something I had in the past, Strattera, which is an ADD medication. It's actually an antidepressant. I mean, it's a norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. It was meant to be an antidepressant. Apparently, it wasn't successful in clinical tests, but then it turned out to be helpful in some people with ADD. In me, it didn't help for any of the ADD symptoms, but and that's something I only realized after it had been discontinued, when I started to be prescribed Ritalin, which is helpful for part of the ADD symptoms. Yeah, and long after discontinuing it, I noticed that Strattera was actually very helpful in a lot of areas, but I don't want to go into it and talk about everything at length. It doesn't feel like it's necessary or helpful right now. And my hope would be that drug would help me to, well, to increase my norepinephrine levels, and so make myself more awake. And norepinephrine has a stimulating effect on the body and mind and brain. It's like adrenaline, but adrenaline does not, it only acts in the body, but it doesn't enter the brain. It's produced in the adrenal glands. But norepinephrine that does act on the brain. And my hope is this would help me to be active. Not, I mean, I'm already very thankful that I'm spending, that there are days where I'm spending a lot of time sitting, like right now, instead of just lying down. That's already a big difference. But what I'm hoping for is standing, walking, going out for a walk, and doing things, like physically, taking care of my room. And not being so exhausted by it, because that drug, it would, once I my brain release, or my adrenals release norepinephrine, it yeah, it's actually about the norepinephrine release by the brain, but it would the action would be stronger and last longer. It would remain in the synaptic cleft for a long time. So every effort I make would have more of an effect and a longer effect. Yeah, and that way should help me move. Go interact with all the physical things that are just all the clutter in my room. Go take a shower. Remove all the clutter from my countertop and my stove, and maybe then cook rice in my rice cooker, and get a pan and prepare some food on my stove and eat it with rice. Nourish my body, get more strong, have more energy, and then create kind of a positive spiral of reinforcement. Unfortunately, most doctors It's like they really don't like it if you come with almost like a request, or well, if you go there and tell them I'd like this specific medication or a medication with this effect, or that's from this of this certain type. And in this case, like really stimulating medications, there's not much. I mean, even that one is not a stimulant in itself. It will only work over time, and so you have to. The stimulus still has to be like the same with an antidepressant. It will they usually work with the serotonin system, and so there still have to be stimuli that make you release serotonin in the right parts of the brain where it would help you step out of the depression, at least temporarily. I still remember that my experience often was that because experiences like that happens rarely, that I would take that drug and would have no effect, and would be prescribed it like the dose would be quite high, and then when I'd experience something positively stimulating, and I can't really. Well, it's always in interaction with people, which is actually a main point. So one of the main issues is also just having medication that allows me to interact with people, and that's one thing that where the diazepam would help, but I don't know how high the dosage will have to be right now, but usually, yeah, not with one tablet. I think it never was that way. And yeah, for now I'm not even prescribed the medication in an amount that would allow me to do that, and I kind of did want to make the commitment to discontinue this substance. Though, yeah, I mean, now I haven't taken it for a while, and I haven't taken it in a high dosage for a longer time, so that's kind of far away, and so I'm already forgetting the negative effects. But what I do know is that there's no middle way, so I cannot take it in a lower dosage, and that wouldn't help me to function. So there's either taking a lot of that or nothing at all. So that's, yeah, anyway, because I haven't been able so far to reach any kind of stability. Even before there wasn't really stability, but there was a certain, I mean, when you just look at my life as a whole over a period of some weeks and compare it to the past couple of weeks, you just see the difference. Even if it's always a struggle and there's this high degree of unpredictability. So like, I never know when I can take a shower, when next again, or do this or that. There's very little predictability, and that's been an issue for so many years. So that's how I really learned, and it took me a really long time. And I think even now, once my state improves a little bit, I would be very prone to forgetting it again. But that I'm just not able to work, because things would come up like, okay, so how much time would it take you to get this done if you're working on some project or something? And the only honest answer I can give is absolutely no idea. I can never predict or promise when I would be able to do something, or how long it would take me, or what I even would be able to finish it at all, and whether I'd be able to make this or that appointment, and whether and meet people, attend some social event or not, communicate with people, call back, pick up the phone, write back, and so on. It's quite a central theme. But now all these things have very much magnified. So one of the effects have been that I have zero social contacts and interactions. Already, like, the place where I lived for the first half of the year, it was like that back then already, because it just overwhelmed me, and there was absolutely no more space to have any kind of social life, which was already so hard before that. But I did, at least I would interact with people online, and I would at least occasionally meet people. And a year ago I went to uni, and until I was notified that I already could move in. I had to move in a couple of months earlier than expected. So I didn't finish the semester, but that was more helpful, just psychologically. and it's just it's one of the main problems of the state I'm in right now, that this complete social isolation. So yeah, in a way, my greatest hope is that I have the right medications and the strength, and just that I have sufficient resources in and around me to properly conduct my studies for this semester, go to uni, and I guess there will be a lot of distance learning because coronavirus is really totally blowing up in Austria right now. It's much worse than in our neighboring countries, and so that means that, I mean, if the numbers are rising, you just know there is a high degree of unreported cases, and yeah, it's just gonna rise and rise. There might even be another lockdown. Yeah, it doesn't really concern me. It's would be allowed. Basically, the lockdown would mean that we're able to go out for anything essential, and also to go for a walk or for sports or something like that. And that's all I need and I wish for. Of course, you wouldn't be allowed to meet with friends, but yeah, in this status, I'm unable to do that. So it wouldn't be much of a difference, and interacting online, if it's done in the right way, it's already quite helpful. So yeah, lockdown wouldn't really faze me. I just what I really want to avoid is catching the virus. And I just noticed, like, the past 2 days, like, how sensitive my immune system and my respiratory system are now that the weather is getting a bit colder. So yeah, I don't really want to run the risk of that. But apart from that, fortunately I'm not affected by any lockdown policies. But certainly a lot of people are, and it's in like financially, with their businesses or with their families and so on. So I'm gonna fill out the rest of the form, I did kind of document some data points. I actually want to change. I want to switch to, like, in my head already. Thought about how to change it to other factors, which, I mean, the intention is to give a certain image of what my life is like. And I thought that yeah, changing it a bit would show that in a better way, and also leaving some room to actually describe the day in words. And right now, for example, I would be unable to describe today or yesterday. And then when a day has passed, yeah, I forget quite quickly. But still, sometimes I would be able to do that, and that would probably give an even better impression. I guess I've been thinking about that all week, but still not able to. So the first one is, am I able to take a shower if I want to? On Thursday, it worked well. I did that guided meditation, and it helped me overcome a lot of these emotional issues, and allowed me to better be present with my body and those various parts of myself. And so I just took a shower, and it wasn't a struggle and a very painful process, not in the way that it usually is. That was really great. But since then, now it's the third day, I haven't yet been able to replicate that. I mean, the video before that is the exact same guided meditation. It's a meditation on loneliness, and I've just been talking about that this is a huge factor. And it's, even when I'm well, it's already a problem, because if you interact with people but don't, there's no real connection, you're just as lonely, or it will be even worse. Yeah, but that meditation was quite helpful that day, so that's I took a shower, and then yesterday not, and today it's like really feels really urgent, but still not able. And the next one is how well I'm able to to not be distracted. So yesterday was bad, and today it's slightly better. Actually, yesterday, take the whole day, okay. Slightly, then when I could meditate. I mean, it doesn't have to be hyper correct. Doesn't really represent thing well. And I guess nobody will really look at this. I mean, that's I've created so many tables with where I would document things. Nobody looked at those. Like even just when I document how much medication I would take, nobody even looked at those ones. So it's frustrating because that way. Well, the thing that is frustrating is that I cannot get that I just cannot get across what I'm struggling with and how what the situation is like, and how bad it actually is. So my experience this year has been that it's always interpreted along this or that line, and not in a helpful way. I guess that's yeah, it just occurred to me That's actually typical quality of like contemporary Western standard medicine, that you don't look at an individual, but you kind of categorize people and illnesses, and then act according, like treat them according to that category, and that just totally doesn't work with my problems. I don't think there's I mean, yeah, the diagnosis I got are basically correct, but still not helpful, and especially with now with that dependence on benzodiazepines, I feel like that's, yeah, doctors and don't have a real understanding of the whole thing. I mean, it might turn out that whatever I think is wrong, and that in the end I have to do it like said by others, but for now I just maintain that the dependence is not a main issue, and that in the current situation I do need the right treatment and medication to function well enough, to be well enough, to be in a state where I can help myself. And as you can watch in all these videos, I do go through various emotional, energetic, even spiritual processes and healings just on my own. It would be very different in an environment that provides me with emotional nourishment and security and so on. But that's not really something you can go and ask for or create and manifest in your life just like this. The closest thing is just finding that balance and nourishment in yourself with my own emotions and mental, yeah, it's just the way I treat myself and so on, and like these meditations I've been talking about, and many things which I'm working on all the time anyway, and which is more effective than my experience in any psychotherapy. I think that's it's just very much not appropriate for me, not helpful, sitting there and talking with somebody about everything. In some sense, I'm doing something like this right now. I'm So I'm just recording myself, and as I'm talking, you can see how these issues just come up, and I'm reflecting on them, putting them in words, and since these videos have like an imaginary potential audience, I'm also kind of translating everything into concepts that I hope will be understood by the audience who would actually potentially watch such a video. I mean, I'm still using a lot of concepts, terms that are not exactly mainstream terms, but I mean, it's still an imaginary audience. That's it's not gonna happen that somebody, because there must be so many hours upon hours of me just talking, and it's not like I'm putting things in very concise form. I'm repeating myself, or there will be ellipses. Like I will just I might fail to explain some things or give the background, so what I'm talking about wouldn't make so much sense maybe to somebody who's watching it. But in a way, the way I'm talking in these videos is as if there would be somebody, you, who is watching that. And so I'm speaking in a way as to be understood by you. Because, for example, I've started one diary where I use some prompts about what I feel like and what I feel like in my body and so on, and then just start writing an entry in a kind of more stream of consciousness style. And I think I have 3 or 4 entries, and those are very interesting because they're very raw and direct, and actually very embarrassing, and yeah, and like they're like written in a way where it's not been thought through before, and so on. So that would be like a different format, because these entries I actually want to put them on a blog sooner or later, but recently I haven't yet had the energy to do that. But yeah, that's not directed at an audience, so it would be kind of hard to make sense of it, of many things of it. But in these videos, there's an element of continuity and so on. So it's kind of similar of how I might talk with a psychotherapist, but better, because I can. With a psychotherapist, I would have to kind of probe the way he or she thinks, and the kind of like the concepts and the way of thinking, the whole belief system, and then adapt to it and put everything in language that is understood there, which I don't, yeah, so I certainly wouldn't be able to be as open, to speak as openly as I do now. And well, in my experience, the actual presence of the therapist was never helpful. So one exception is I had, I think when I was in the hospital a couple of years ago, I had, I think, 2 or maybe 3 sessions as in Gestalt therapy, and those were interesting because really did go into the emotions in the moment without explaining, and especially what I don't like is this fixation on causality. Like, I'm feeling bad or I'm having a problem, and then the question is why, and then you just get lost in so many mental constructs which don't help and don't make sense. In my case, it might be very, very different with others. I was actually surprised. I don't know what it exactly was, but that things that really were quite the opposite of helpful in psychotherapy. And I remember I talked to another patient, friend actually. I haven't been in touch with her for years, but yeah, with a friend, and then she said that the same things, same words and thoughts or responses were or would be very helpful for her. Now I've kind of lost my thread. It's interesting the way my mind works when I'm on video and talking, because what I just did was kind of justifying my decision not to be in psychotherapy right now. And I think many things I'm talking about are just responses to things that doctors have said to me this year, or other people have said to me, or want me to do, or expect me to do. It's interesting that it just comes up, and I'm just justifying this, and yes, also justifying it to myself. Interesting. This causes a strong emotional reaction in me, like almost so strong that I feel like just wanting to get out of here and interrupting the video, but I know that actually stopping the video and will put me in an even worse state, because then I'm even more in this state of panic, where I'm just looking for something to distract me. And the video helps me to actually still be more focused and balanced in a way. Yeah, I guess one thing I feel very strongly is that In a way, everybody wants me to go to hospital, like a special clinic for to detox from the benzodiazepines, and that was a thought I was having. It's yeah. Anyway, I don't need to justify myself. I thoroughly thought about it and felt into myself, and the conclusion I got to is no, I won't do that right now, and I'll for now I don't see any other option than continuing like this here at home. And as I just see here on looking at this table of medication, it looks for me, it doesn't look for me that it's really about the medication. I mean, it is in the sense that I do need the help to function, to say it again, function enough to be able to help myself by one, taking care of myself, my body, and my stuff, all my affairs, all my things in my room. And I really would be really great to take care of the few of my plants that have still survived, and put them in pots and take them inside, and so on. And number two would be being able to interact with people, and thus so being able to meet my social needs a little bit it's still a long way to have any degree of fulfillment of those needs for connection with other people. And these are very basic physiological needs. So right now, in this area, for me would be going to uni and taking that Hindi language course. I would work on two or three levels. So one would just be the learning of the language, which second would be like interaction in the context of my studies, like interacting with professors and others about what you're learning and so on. And third would be well, simply getting to know new people, having classmates, and like last year I didn't make any friends, or didn't even like meet with anybody in private, but you know, just having short conversation and talking to to each other, just in front of the classroom, or maybe after class. It's already something. And I was kind of close to actually kind of connect more, or actually yeah, like do some activities together or so on. But I didn't have the energy, the resources anymore, the inner resources to do more. Like yeah, that was too much already. I mean, my studies themselves, they were too much already, so I didn't get too far. But university is still the best and most helpful, supportive and healing environment I know. I kind of can, yeah, in a way I would need to insert some more comments there, but let's just leave it as it is for now. And then the third aspect of functioning would be me being able to do stretching, stretch my muscles, go for walks, meditate, do acupressure, acupuncture, moxa therapy on myself, and so on. So that would be like the, and I've always felt like really always the moment I regain the ability to do qigong, then I'll be able to heal myself very quickly. And it's good that I've reflected on this, because now I do have actually a reason not to go back to taking benzodiazepines, because I do know they somehow make your energy, your body's life energy stuck, or yeah, I don't know, but it seems like that taking those substances for a long time is the main reason that I can't do it anymore. I mean, I can just try right now. Just simple exercise. Well, actually, it is easier than a couple of weeks ago. That's a good sign. I don't know to what degree the other medications I'm taking are influencing. Yeah, but they're not. They're actually influencing. Yeah, so that's something that is better. But I just lack the energy and the stimulation. And one thing that really is true is that, yes, like the right people taking care of me and helping me, and the perfect right environment would be so much more effective than any medication. And also that the combination of interaction with the right people. This sounds a bit strange, the right people, yeah, but people I can connect with, and there is some degree of resonance, so, and connection. So I guess my social emotional needs get met, and that is very stimulating. And then in combination with medication, it makes the medication a lot more effective. Well, I'm actually referring to the benzodiazepines, so so my interpretation why I had to take so large amounts, or often took so large amounts, and didn't have any effect, is that my brain is just not releasing those calming neurotransmitters, GABA aminobutyric acid. Because nothing in my life happens that my brain can interpret as safety, relief, and a reason for relaxation. But when I take them and then I have a positive social interaction with somebody I resonate with, then they actually work. But that's all theoretical. In the view of my doctors and social workers, I guess everybody who kind of has taken care of me, and also like the people I live with here and my family, people like social workers, or I mean, I do have the social services for the city of Vienna would actually pay for people to come here and help me with my household and whatever thing and so on. That structure, a helpful structure, can be created this way. But yeah, my experience has been that it's really hard to communicate that to people, but it makes a huge difference who comes and then also what state they're in. And I did have that help starting last summer, and by the time I started uni, I actually had found the right people where it wouldn't totally stress me out when they come but I could be in a bad state and they could still come, and it would still be of help and be positive. And then I had a certain structure where actually only those people would come, and that was really helpful. But it doesn't work right now because I don't have the medication that helps me to interact with people, and then just find the people that I'd be able to interact, to tolerate without medication. And for other things, it just became very obvious that it's just much better to invest my energy in being able to go down to the supermarket and buy stuff myself than putting it into writing a list of things and giving that to people, community that of people, and they would go shopping for me and bring it here. And that just wasn't helpful because it just stressed me out so much, and in the end I didn't leave the house. So that's why ever since the end of August, I've stopped. So I'm not using that service now. And it would also be possible to have a social worker come once a week or every 2 weeks or so. It depends on the organization you get it from, also for free. And I also opted against that. Because I'm in this very sensitive state right now, or vulnerable state, where just I can't open up or meaningfully interact with somebody. And also, in the past, the social workers I've had never had someone I connected with well on an emotional level. And for other matters, I'm able to take care of those because everything is quite settled now. So I don't have to be afraid of missing some deadline or anything. I'm like in a really safe environment concerning like basic things like having a place, having a roof over my head, and having the money to buy food and pay bills. But since I'm here in I have just a fixed rent, much lower than before, and so I don't even have to worry about paying bills and so on. What I basically wanted to say is that that's I don't think I've ever met someone or at least not someone in my kind of environment of people. Maybe someone who lives in another country or so, but no one in my social environment who would understand that. I actually think something that would be extremely helpful for me as medication for all these matters is oxytocin, the hormone oxytocin, which can be taken as a nasal spray. But unfortunately, for many years, no doctor would prescribe that for me. Though I have seen in the internet that you can actually order it. Obviously not for human consumption, and it's probably quite expensive. But maybe there's a chance to do that. Because that it's not a good thing, just living here and being completely isolated from everybody else. And I can feel it in people that it's that also creates friction and things like, as I mentioned before, that I guess almost everyone thinks that I should rather go to some kind of clinic or make use of like help I'm offered from the various social services offered, like the stuff I've just been talking about. And I have really little experience with oxytocin, but the experience I've had has been extremely positive, and it might really be the game changer where I maybe even be able to replace the benzodiazepines with oxytocin, so that over time it would have the effect of decreasing that anxiety and that sensitivity, and allowing me to open up so I can interact with people again. And actually now when I say this, I can feel myself emotionally opening up. I think you can actually even hear it in my voice, the strong feeling of sadness, and loneliness, I guess. Definitely has to be loneliness. Not completely sure what it feels like, but apparently that's what it feels like. Many feelings can only be really experienced and seen clearly in contrast to the opposite, so that often makes it hard to see and define and recognize, and of course communicate a lot of feelings or even pain that's there. If you're always in pain, it just feels normal. And I notice that a lot with physical pain, that I totally forget, and I'm in physical pain, constantly in physical pain. And actually to a degree where I'm very much affected by it. I'm just trying to imagine just right now, if there wouldn't be that physical pain, how different I would feel, and maybe I'd be much more energized. What I'm feeling is a strong connection to my emotions. Actually, they're the very same ones. Yeah, you cannot separate the physical pain and the emotional pain, which is behind that. So actually the physical pains, or at least some aspect of it, is the inability to release the emotional pain. That's a very old issue that's coming up, and it's something I was being criticized for, especially by my mother, that I'm just not releasing that emotional pain. That's, for example, that sadness, just by crying or so. Though it's, I'm actually doing that when I'm able to, when I'm alone. And when I'm not alone, I'm only able to do that in an environment where I feel safe. And actually, it's quite surprising that even very emotionally open environments where people are just very open with their emotions, how unsafe they are. And not only feel, but where I actually have the experience that I'm getting attacked emotionally. Yeah, and that's a very common experience, actually, that I experience being criticized for not sufficiently expressing emotions, although my take on it is that if emotions are just too intense, like, I don't think it's helpful to express negative emotions in a way that that actually hurts other people, or because it's not, I got nothing to do with them. It's interesting. I mean, anyone who's listening has no idea what I'm really talking about. But to me, it just occurs that it's quite interesting that I don't have the experience of an emotionally safe environment. And then I'm just thinking about one-on-one interactions. But even then, I don't have any experience of any environment where, for example, I would be able to completely open up and release all what I'm feeling right now, what is, for example, causing a lot of pain, physical pain, and so on, and what actually the thought of the oxytocin brought up. So that actually, that's quite a strong argument for the oxytocin. The question is always whether it's really necessary. a healing doesn't have to occur in a specific way. There are many, like, in a specific mechanical way. I'm sure that I don't think that I have this strong I mean, I'm here to care for myself, so I must assume that every way I act, there's a reason behind it, and I mustn't judge and berate myself if things don't go in a certain way. And looking at the whole thing from the perspective I'm looking at it right now, you can really say I'm quite resistant to emotional, like the emotional healing and the release. But then let's I do know that I have had a lot of other experiences where actually a very central issue is basically a very typical pattern of addiction, but my impression is that people generally really don't have an idea of this mechanism also, because it's just not it's distraction. So even right now I'm filming myself. There's actually, I got my laptop open in front of me, so I'm always doing something to distract myself from from the pain of just interacting in the physical world. And I might or I will be able to, for example, lie down and feel into my body and meditate and deal with what's in my body. But the real issue is just getting up, cleaning my room, taking care of my room, and so on, like going and taking a shower, and those are the actual things that are because even the meditating is to some degree it's also a distraction. I wouldn't really say that, but it's not the resolution of everything doesn't lie in lying down, or even if it is sitting down, which is already better, but still that's not where the resolution lies. The thing is that, I mean, even just looking at all the clutter is overwhelming. That's been a fact for such a long time. And the whole issue goes back to at least early primary school age. So the second grade of primary school, that's the earliest point where I can for sure pinpoint this whole thing, which is basic pattern of addiction, which means that being in my natural state is too painful, so I have to distract myself with some kind of activity, or do something to calm myself. So when I go back to that early childhood, it would be overeating and reading books. And then I guess from the age of 13, I was really dependent on caffeine, on tea and coffee and so, just to be able to function. And that's it just always went on like this. And my family, well, I was in a situation where you're criticized for coping with everything in this or that way, and at the same time all this stress and expectations and the inability to actually ever relax or take care of your needs and so on. That also came from my family. So that was kind of like being crushed between two things. And then, of course, any kind of addiction would be extreme like that. That's something that's impossible. That just something you just can't have or be, like one of the things. So I remember my mother especially, she was always concerned that I'd be addicted to this or that, to like without any base, apart of course from the fact that this just the energy, I don't know what to call it, the thought form or whatever of addiction, or the emotional pattern or whatever, that's of course very strongly present in me. But she was concerned that I'd be addicted to watching TV, to computers, to alcohol, and like for example, I remember a lot of times we would have a family gathering, family lunch or something, and then she would serve as wine, and then, for example, if I drink the glass of wine faster than her, or maybe I'd add some more wine. I don't remember, but then she would immediately be concerned that I might be an alcoholic, or I turn into one, and so on. The same with like when I took higher doses of vitamins, because that can be it's another way to cope. You can kind of make your body function better, because you can decrease inflammation and help enzymes to work more efficiently, and so on. And when you have access to the right vitamins and also molecular substances, which means all substances which are already present in the body, like enzymes and coenzymes and things like that. So, well, similar to vitamins, but you have an even broader range of substances, and if you have access to that, it also helps you to cope with just staying alive and functioning and adapting to the stressful environment you're in, and to the expectations that are there, visible or in like out in the open or hidden. And yeah, that's the thing that I don't see that I'm like there's no focus on a specific thing or a substance or behavior at all, but the underlying thing is just being overwhelmed by basically some kind of emotional trauma, and therefore just having to find ways to cope in order to survive and sufficiently function. And in my case, I've never been able to really form social connections and a social network outside of my family, which also has to do with a lot to do with my mother, who strongly discouraged that because, well, looking from that emotional angle, our family as one coherent unit used to be what met my mother's emotional needs, what nourished her. So that kind of made her unwillingly manipulative, and at the same time I guess we formed what is called a codependent relationship. I'm actually not sure about the definition, but it's I was quite like the way I saw it or felt is that, okay, it's this exchange. I get this from my mother and my family, just mostly physical resources like money and food and vitamins and all kind and therapies, like massages and therapies from my spine and healing sessions and all that. And in exchange, I act according to expectations, so I partake in the family, and I thought I could take all those energies and emotions that my parents like brought home from their work and also from their own lives, and process them and kind of resolve and heal them and make them gone, and this kind of exchange, because one person is good at this and another person is as good at that. And I think it's when did I actually realize that this doesn't work that way? I guess not so long ago. I can't really tell, but I can now very clearly say that that doesn't work, because every person is actually an individual, so you cannot form a social structure, superstructure, even when it's a family that works like that, because everybody has to deal with their own emotions and issues, and I can actually take on those and process those, but or at least live in a belief system and see everything from a perspective where it's like that. It's questionable whether it actually worked like that and brought any relief to my parents. Well, I can say that now it's already a long time ago, but I've definitely had some very transformatory and positive influence on my parents. Like they literally wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for me and the things I was going through. But yeah, the thing that I can basically deal with all the energies, the so-called negative energies of the whole family, and all distorted energies and so on, like take care of everybody's health from a perspective where you like more in the realm of more subtle energies. That was a very there was just a belief system one needs to let go of, because it doesn't work like that. Everybody is an individual and can make their own decisions, and just has to face and deal with their own issues and feelings and energies, if you will. And so I guess even if I manage to resolve problems or health problems, when an individual focus of consciousness is not dealing with those, they will just manifest new ones. It's the same thing if one heals some issue with some modality, and it hasn't been really experienced and fully explored in a way with one's consciousness from a more kind of a higher perspective, or I don't know how to put it, it will just come back in another way. which doesn't mean not to make use of healing modalities. It's just a kind of balance. So for me right now, I do need that help to, yeah, to find the balance where I can act in a sovereign manner and take the reins in my life. Even if, especially with like psychiatric medications, it's all too obvious that it doesn't resolve a problem. And it would be highly desirable to find solutions that in the form of social interactions and people rather than substances to help me. But yeah, as I've said, that hasn't been possible so far. And at the same time, I cannot clearly feel it right now. And it might actually be an issue with the medication I'm taking right now. I might even be dissociated from myself in some way, and not able to really make good decisions. I'm not sure how attuned I am to myself. But that has to do also with the fact that if you're not able to sufficiently function and do things, you're just I was getting a bit lost in what I was talking about. But let's go back to this issue of addictive tendencies. So actually the main objects is technology, like my phone here and my computer there. So I always thought, I might forcibly remove those from my environment. I mean, I do have a pouch and a padlock with a timer where I can lock my phone. And for the computer, I could put it somewhere in the house where I would have to go and get it. That would make a big difference, because that's a great difference apparently to a lot of other addictions which are very much associated with dopamine. So people would very strong, like they would in a way do everything just to get to that thing of behavior, and that's not the case for me. I do know, I'm familiar with that feeling a bit. I know it a bit when it comes to food. but even now I've got 3 hours left. I could go to the supermarket or take a shower first and then go to the supermarket and buy any kind of food and really binge on it. I certainly would do that if I had the food here in front of me. But it doesn't work, so that shows that well, that as I always say, that the main issue is actually that my ability to function is so much impaired, which is not the same issue as these addictive patterns. So, and that's actually the bigger problem. And I noticed that most people assume that that I actually am able, like when so the doctors asked, like, where would I get the medication from, so they assumed I would kind of go to several doctors and trick them into writing me prescriptions, or apparently you can even buy benzodiazepines on the street from a drug dealer, and that's like I mean that's so far from that's really very far removed from any reality. I only got the medication by prescriptions from my doctor according to the amount I was prescribed. The only I'm not completely sure because at the place I lived before, social workers would actually order the medication for me, like the prescriptions, and they also would when the corona crisis occurred here in my country, they had like a policy of having enough medications for 1 month, like an extra month in storage just in case, and when I had gotten to the point where I was taking a lot, like such a high daily dose, I was documenting that every day and sharing that with those social workers, and at the same time they told me they would talk to my doctor, and they talked to my doctor on my phone, I'm not sure whether once or twice, because I had signed that I released the doctor from the duty of patient confidentiality. So I was under the impression that it was temporarily okay to continue along that way, which apparently was not the case. So apparently the social workers did not properly inform the doctor. That's where actually that's when all the problems started. but those are like, that's like that's all a bygone era. Yeah, I'm totally got sidetracked again. So yeah. Yeah, I was saying that the main thing that I used to distract myself from the state of my body and myself, and then my physical reality around me, is my computer and my phone, or my computer and my phone. The thing is that those are also a resource providing help. And well, just taking them away, I know that it would mainly feel very painful, and I'll have to retreat from sensory input by wearing earplugs and covering my face and just lying in bed in darkness. Just having as little sensory input as possible, and then basically doing my best to be in meditation and dealing with the thing that, but apparently I create some state of stuckness, because if it wasn't like this, things should happen and change, but it's mainly intense pain and no real resolve, and no real not as if my ability to function is recovered. Possibly like these are two rather separate issues, so I cannot resolve the one with the other. And then things that I can access via the internet are extremely helpful, like for example the meditations I've already been talking about, and so on. So it's when I'm in the state that I can tolerate listening to that, it can be very helpful. And when you see the video from earlier today, you can probably see it in my body language how hard and painful that meditation was, but I managed to go through with it till the end, even though that one is like a really helpful, effective meditation, and it's especially the first time I did it, it was really the effect was very positive. So that's why I still hesitate to remove these central items. well, the real game changer is, for example, if right now I can get up and clean up my room, and yeah, I like my thinking, my belief system is very strongly skewed towards the thought that the right substance, the right medication will help me to do that. I know that very intense pain or a very high situation of very high stress is able to help me at least initiate such an action, but in my experience, it tended not to be enough. So I would start and it would just be too much, and then I would just go back to bed and retreat from the world. So that's why I'm it's kind of the dilemma. So I see this one part of the spectrum where you really get lost in pain. Actually, in a setting like being in a hospital where almost everything outside of yourself is being taken care of, that actually helps the most, would help the most in going through such a process. Because you won't have the dilemma between a certain, for example, right now, how do I get food? And then I'd be able to really allow myself to go and face those emotions and pains. But unfortunately, the hospitals, the conventional hospitals are run under a completely different belief system. That is just on a completely different level than what I'm used to act from, and I just have the standpoint that I should trust my feeling of what is right and not right for me, and so that makes me say that it's not helpful and it's not suitable for me. It doesn't resonate on the same level. So I've actually been thinking about the reality, possibility of such an environment for years, so I just think back, but I'd say it does not realistically exist, so it's not an option right now to assume something like that. So for the past days at least, I've gone into the other direction where I say, okay, I'd rather do something to, yeah, tend to rather disregard the pain. I mean, I'm being aware of it, and to a degree I'm being present with it. It's actually not possible not to do that. The thing is that in my current state, I mean, that's the environment I spend my whole day in. It's just looking at a screen, and I'm not interacting with the rest of the world. And so the belief system I'm operating in is basically the right combination of substances I'm looking for the right combination of substances that short term or and then also long term, but yeah, I mean, on a daily basis, it's mainly short term that enable me to have the energy to do things and function, and get to a level where I can build upon that. So everything I've been talking about. So for today, it would mean I take a shower, I get something to eat, I nourish my body with food, I clean up my room, make sure the environment I spend all my time in is actually nice and helpful for me. And if suppose I still have energy, for example, I might go for a walk. I feel that the garden and the rest of the house has very it's very densely associated, strongly associated with emotions and fear, anxiety, and like this. So it's like even when I assume I have a lot of energy, I feel like I can't go there. I mean, in the beginning when I was here, I was taking this high dose of benzodiazepines and doing things in the garden. So it means, yeah. And that's just, so that allowed me to deal with all kinds of emotions and energies and thoughts, like because there are lots of thoughts and opinions kind of associated with the garden, as far as I feel, and yeah. So anyway, so I'd go out for a little walk in nature and just connect with nature, and also allow my eyes to actually not be focused on a screen all the time, but look at things that are different distances away and are in 3D, so they don't, I mean, this is really bad for my eyes, just looking at the screen all the time. And then I might come back and do stretching for my body. That would be really nice, like clearing the floor from all the clutter, and just spreading my yoga mat and just stretching my body. and I might do some body work and meditation, work with my acupuncture points. I might suppose I'm in a good mood as well. I might play my drums, I might listen to music, and it's interesting. I'm actually feeling also an emotional reaction to this, similar to when I mentioned the oxytocin, and then just relax and get ready for bed, for sleeping. Yeah, and so on. So that's the belief system I'm in. Because yeah, for the basically for all my life, that's how it worked. That you can find something to cope, and for me, it's not in the form of other people and relationships with other people, and I know that for other people, they often cope in the form of relationships. You could say from the fact that it's not, that this help is not manifested here right now, that it's not the solution. I can only say it's not helpful to assume that I'm doing something wrong and that basically what I'm experiencing is my fault, or that if I made more effort, it would be different. Obviously, if I knew better, I could do better. But yeah, all these things. So basically, judging oneself, exerting a negative judgment on oneself, are things that are not helpful because they cause additional pain and well, it's just the opposite. Just their energy, their basic energy is the exact opposite of what I need. What the need I have is actually for support, which in theory that it can be provided by a person. And as I already said, some people, one of my roommates here, and my youngest brother, for example, and other people as well, they do have that quality, or we have that kind of connection. It doesn't have to be someone I know for a long time. Seems to be some personality trait that people have that allows us just to connect in a positive way, and then they can support me. But it's I cannot conceive of of support on this level being the resolution. That tends to be it's helpful for like there would have to be the right people. They would have to put a lot of time and not necessarily effort, but attention into me and helping me, supporting me. So they need all that time and also create all that space, and that's not realistic. That because that would be a recreation of childhood, where you have parents and other people in your life that are always there as a support. And that's a situation like that in theory, like in ideal way, yes, that would be very helpful and would allow me to actually improve and get out of this whole conundrum. And there might be places in the world where it's possible, where maybe some like intentional communities and stuff like that. But it's I just don't see that I have much agency. I cannot, yeah. I feel like that's a lot of people see my fault in this way, that I just isolate myself too much and don't open up to the people who are already around me. But I just I very strongly experienced that limitation and also experienced that opening up to other people means feeling and dealing with and having to process their issues. Because I'm not able, and I don't think it's actually a fault. It's something I can get rid of, but it's just a basic part of my personality or my beingness, that if I really open up, I also meet the people in such a way that I'm just aware of all these things. So I have to have the capacity to be able to rest in my own energy and be strong physically and mentally, emotionally, so as to not be overwhelmed by other people's emotions and issues and energies. And at the same time, I very well. I not only doubt. I've just already had the experience that other people won't meet me in the same way, so that that's not even necessary. But I don't know. It's just my experience is that I don't get an emotional nourishment out of those interactions, even if I do think that I'm accepted. Yeah, not even by everyone. I can feel some disharmony sometimes, but in general, like very positively accepted by them. I do feel that, like, being able to make a connection, for example, if I would be taking that oxytocin, yeah, that's